Hey, this is Nick Edwards. We're sitting down with pastors just to hear their story, the impact they're making on the church, and how they continue to invest in the church and the next generation. Sitting down with Brett. Man, Brett, so great to see you today.
Good to
Been
meet you
long-time
too.
friends and long
Yeah.
time doing some ministry together throughout the years. Tell us a little bit about who you are and what you're doing now.
Yeah, like you said, my name is Brett Clickner. I am 2.5 weeks off of being voted as the lead pastor of a replant in between Farmersville and Lavon. There's a small unincorporated community called Copeville. It's got a 170 plus year old church that just needed to be replanted, and so my wife and I were selling our landscape company. We are moving an hour and a half away into the parsonage, and got to go fix that up first. But yeah, we're replanting a church.
Man, that's awesome. Just being able to go in and revitalize a church that has history but needs some new life to it. So you said you're selling your business, but you've been doing a business, but you also have been pastor for years.
Correct. I've been in the ministry or been pastoring for almost 18 years at this point. I've been in 3 different church plants, 2 within the first year and a half of their launch, one that was a little bit more established, about 10 years old. And then out of all of that, kind of came back to my home church. And that's where not only was I called to a relationship, called to a relationship with Christ there, but also called into ministry there. And I'm actually being sent out of there to go plant. So
Man, how amazing is that, God, just bringing it full story for you
Full
and for
circle.
your family, and just what that meant. Just recently was at an event and went back and was in this chapel of where I felt like God was calling me into ministry, and just seeing it going, man, just this flood of emotions and all the things that come along with it. That it was a holy, sacred moment when I was really young, and now
Absolutely.
looking back, there was that God was doing something even bigger.
Yeah, I never would have guessed. I sat at a church, was able to rest a lot there. And then this pastor kind of approached me. He was a new pastor at the first church I ever went to, and we became friends. And then he said, hey, I need some help. So I stepped on board to help him as an associate pastor. And then he asked if I would consider planting a church. I said no about for a year and a half. And then he said, no, really, I want you to pray. And 6 months later, I was sitting at the assessment in Houston.
Man, that's awesome. Okay, so went through this process, ready to launch. You're launching this new revitalized church outside of Lavon, Texas. What's the name of this church?
That's something where I'm going to have to steward some of the board. It's
If you're not ready to say, it's okay. I don't want to put you on the hook.
Let me not say it just
Okay.
because I do have people that I want to shepherd that way. We do know that the name has to be drastically different,
Sure.
and we wanted to say something about what God does with His people, drawing them in to be the bride of Christ. And so we have one that we prayed on. I don't want to preemptively say it, but as
good.
a pastor, I just want to shepherd that to them first. So we'll see.
So one of the questions I'm asking pastors is, what does discipleship look like in your church? But now you're launching this church. What do you think discipleship is going to look like in this new church?
Man, ideally, we would like to take and train up people to do one-on-one discipleship. That's where I think the meat kind of gets there. And we have this model where we want to have people have a relationship, build relational equity with one another. Maybe 2 or 3 times a week, you're sitting down around the Word. 1 time a week, you're just having community. You're hanging out, having fun, doing life together. But we want people that are going to be willing to leverage their time, their energy, even their marriages, to invite people in and say, hey, look what it looks like. Come see what it looks like to be a godly husband or a godly father. Or like for women to say, come and see what it looks like to be a homemaker or to be a person that has a business. And like my wife, she runs a photography company. And so for her to be able to come in and say, hey, what does it look like to be a godly business owner and a godly wife or a godly mother and stuff.
Yeah.
And so for me, it's leaning into one-on-1, one-on-3. But we want to see people get in the Word, grow in the knowledge of God, bear fruit, and for it to actually change their heart. Get past that complacency, get past that moment where, I know a little bit more than I used to, and, I'm not as bad as I used to be, but get off that plateau and really just start chasing the Lord.
Yeah, it doesn't mean I've arrived at anything, right?
One of my really good friends and planting pastors, he always says we never become grace graduates. And
It's a good word. I like that. We never become grace graduates, so that we
Yeah.
always need the grace of God in our life. Okay, so one of the other questions I've been asking people is, what do you think, not just for your church, but what do you think is the challenge that the church, maybe just the American church is facing over the next 1, 2, 3 years?
specifically the next 1 to 3. It's hard to think that it's different than I think the challenge that they've had for the last 100 years. Is I think, and as much as I love the Great Awakening, I'm going to put maybe something out there no one would want to say is I think since the Great Awakening, we got in this culture where we started to tell people, if you just come hear this pastor, then he will save you.
Oh,
You can do this. And I think where we missed the mark is we stopped letting the church be built up as the hands and feet of Christ and go out and live out the gospel outside of the walls. And we've just said, if you come to my church, if you come hear my pastor, if you come do this. And so I really think what the church needs to face is getting active outside the walls, letting Sunday or letting the church be a place where the saints are built up. Maybe even the church service being a little less evangelistic, and actually moving towards deeper growth in the body so that they would have more reflection of Christ outside the walls.
man, I love that the role of the pastor, shepherd, teacher, evangelist, Ephesians 4 is to equip the saints for the work of the ministry. And when they come and they are equipped and energized and really empowered with the gospel, then they can go be the hands and feet outside.
Absolutely.
But if they're never equipped here, how can they be the hands and feet out
Absolutely.
there? So I love that. I do think that is one of the challenges, that it's not unique, but it's an ongoing that we're going to have to continue. And, culture shifting and all these kind of things that are changing, that building disciples is still the heart of the church.
Right. Absolutely.
So how can people connect with you? What do they need to know about you? And how can they be praying for you?
Listen, I'll do what nobody wants to do. I'll give you my number, 940-300-0687. Or you can hit me up at BertClick04, BERTCLICK04 @gmail.com. Reach out to me in any capacity. And then, as far as prayers, man, I have a wife and I have 3 children. We're moving across town. We're moving away from grandparents. And so that's really hard actually for my parents.
Yep.
They love seeing their grandkids almost daily, every week. We know that, especially not just because we're moving to the outskirts of nowhere, but islandizing, getting out there on an island and feeling like you're all alone is a really big deal. So prayers and comfort for that. But then our church needs, every inch of our church building is going to need something done to it. And so, man, we need partners for resources, finances, and prayers, that we would not only keep Christ as the center of our lives, he would be the center of our marriage, that is going to be the foundation that my wife and I lead this church from. And so, man,
Love it.
our family.
Man, thank you for being a man of faith who's trusting God with his next step, going into the kind of the unknown. And you've been a part of different church plants, but now being that lead pastor in this brand new church plant. Man, excited for you, excited for what
Thanks,
God's going to do. And just knowing that the seeds that you're going to sow and the impact that you're going to have are not going to pay day one, but they're going to pay over time, and they're going to have an eternal reward for it. And so thank you so much for your leadership. Thank
Yes,
you,
sir.
Pastor,
Thank you.
for how you continue to serve God and honor him.
Appreciate it, brother.
Appreciate it.